Yes, placements are actually happening here as we speak. Since Jindal is a residential campus out in Sonipat, it is a mandatory hostel stay. Law student gets multiple kinds of international exposure. I'm from a Tamilian Punjabi background. I've actually found my inclination from that background insofar as my parents have both propelled me towards doing debating. And from that activity of debating, I found myself interested in the law, and that's how I found myself at JGLS. I'm actually based out of Gurgaon, so it's not that far off. I chose OP Jindal Global University off of a conversation with my friends, which was based out of the fact that they themselves were students here. The faculty, the infrastructure, the kind of amenities we are offered in terms of technological access to resources for law, all of these things are marvelous and attracted me towards Jindal Global Law School. The difference comes by virtue of the kind of interaction you're able to base out of your faculty. So despite the fact that Jindal is a much larger university in terms of student size, the student to faculty ratio is as such that your classroom learning is immense, and your faculty members are able to provide you very personalized experience on the go, and you can interact with them throughout. I think this separates us. But secondarily, in terms of the international interaction that we are offered here at Jindal, I think it's unparalleled as compared to any other law school in India. There are two reasons why it's different. The first one being that despite having the standard Bar Council of India curriculum, what Jindal tends to focus on is always making the course more comparative, therefore trying to compare it to other jurisdictions across the world. Therefore, we are always offered a comparative and more holistic approach in towards understanding our law and how it engages with other jurisdictions. And secondarily, I think the kind of electives that we are provided at Jindal Global Law School really sets it apart. So for a student like myself in the 3-year program, I have access to a course like mergers and acquisitions, which is something that's not ordinarily offered anywhere else in the country in a law school. And that's what sets us apart. So when I'm hired, if at all, I think that sets me apart because I'll have a skill set that my competitors, my peers, and my colleagues will not be able to have at that point of time. There's a 5-year course, the integrated 5-year course, and the 3-year course. For the 3-year course, you need to first clear a graduate degree, which I have from CVS in economics. And after my degree, I pursued this course. In the 5-year course, you're directly entering out of graduation post-school and giving 5 years of your commitment to that program. So Jindal has a diversity in terms of those two courses. So Jindal, obviously in the 5-year program, will provide you arts and other subjects, and say BBA for that matter, for a commercial basic understanding, as opposed to the 3-year law course, which is much more intensified because students are already bringing in a specialized knowledge in their own undergraduate subject. But now the 3-year course is specialized towards gearing them toward a legal understanding specifically. So providing you all the standard Bar Council of India courses, but also providing you an opportunity through your rigorous 6-semester course of, say, turning into, say, having more of a commercial understanding if you choose that aspect, more constitutional law understanding. So electives that are based far and beyond just the constitutional law subject that is mandated by the Bar Council, specializations within that. So I think that is what sets the 3-year course apart from the 5-year course per se. Law student gets multiple kinds of international exposure. So the first two ways in which that happens is actually that we are allowed to go on semester exchange programs to various different universities, including Cornell, the Fletcher Law School at Tufts, and multiple other organizations are also, we have a lot of international tie-ups at JGU. And that really allows a student like myself to, say, bid and then go for that course, to get selected through a round of interviews and get that interaction. Secondarily, Jindal also has tie-ups in terms of, say, pathway programs. So that is basically a specialized LLM degree which you can do immediately after finishing, say, I'm in the 3-year course. Immediately after finishing my 2nd year, I can end up going for an LLM abroad, and within the same span of 3 years, I'll be able to have not only an LLB degree but an international LLM. So that's how Jindal gives us a lot of international exposure. But lastly, also in terms of the faculty members being such renowned faculty members from international universities across the world, our own professors have international exposure insofar as they themselves have LLMs from like Ivy League law schools, Oxford, Cambridge. All of this sort of this exposure has come in and been galvanized for us as law students at Jindal. The fees per semester is I think 3 lakhs for your academic tuition, and there's a separate hostel fee that's also charged, inclusive of all your food and laundry expenses. Since Jindal is a residential campus out in Sonipat, it is a mandatory hostel stay. it depends from batch to batch. At this point of time, my personal fees is 1,20,000. I think the benefits are much more than the challenges, but I'll start with the challenges. I think the only challenge I face here, if at all, is realizing that I'm in a very diverse and competitive space, and making amends with the fact that this is not something that's going to fly by. It's an intensive course, and it's a very enriching course insofar as that challenge is presented, which in a way is actually a good challenge and a benefit at the end of the day. But the benefits apart from that in terms of diversity include multiculturalism, and I think the ethos of Vasudev Kutumbakam is something I had in my school, and I think it's enriched even more so at Jindal, considering people from various countries, from various parts of the country, it's from India itself are here. So my interaction with them truly changes, right? In the law school classroom, we're able to talk about experiences that are personal to our identity and that we've seen, and those observations really enrich our experience as to how the law is actually applied across the globe. And not just the law, but our social interactions with each other, our interpersonal relationships, how they're different from, say, country to country, or say from state to state in India. I think that sort of an experience is really enriching. And at the end of the day, I think the friend circles that you the peers that you're able to, say, build up and, say, have a relationship with are extremely, extremely fun to have. And they make this classroom experience even more worthwhile. Yes, placements are actually happening here as we speak. So the Office of Career Services is part of the organization that majorly takes care of, say, placements. So we have firms from the corporate law fraternity coming in, say tier 1 firms such as AZB, Trilegal, all the big names, Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas, Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas, all of these firms come in, Khaitan and Co. And then they hire students off of this process called the 0-day process, which is wherein 2 days are specifically designated for these firms to come in and make shortlists out of the students that have applied to these firms through the OCS portal. And therefore, through that shortlist, they then have personal interviews and rounds of group discussions, at the end of which, post that day, we are told whether or not we've been hired. And it's a very smooth sailing process because the OCS is really informative and communicative, and they have a very transparent process which they try to help you through. So I think in that sense, the hiring process at Jindal is very nice. But that's not it, right? It doesn't just end at the 0-day process. They carry it forth throughout the year by inviting law firms to come in, and not just law firms in the corporate world, but chambers of established and renowned senior advocates, advocates in general who are practicing, in-house counsels in big conglomerates, MNCs, keep coming here through the year to go ahead and, say, develop their teams and hire, say, Jindal graduates who are actually going to be assets for them in the future. And the OCS is who helps us all through this. Packages standard in terms of corporate law firms range from at about the market standard and above average, which is to say it ranges anywhere from 15 lakhs to 18 lakhs for tier 1 law firms. And for law firms that, say, maybe tier 2 or maybe tier 3, these packages may range from 8 to 10 lakhs and 10 to 14 lakhs. I've actually been placed, I was placed during the 0-day and I've been placed with Trilegal this 0-day. The standing of law school is the fact that Jindal's USP throughout has been its law school, because the law school is also the oldest school here. Because therefore, I think the kind of investment that has gone into the law school in terms of how long that investment has run, the fruits of that investment have been bearing in throughout. So insofar as my peers are concerned, I don't think we see them as any lesser. We're all equals here at Jindal, and that's the ethos that we've imbibed at Jindal. But I think in terms of competition and exposure, maybe the fact that Jindal Global Law School has been running for a longer time gives us an edge in terms of the amenities I've already mentioned.